Have I missed something not having explored a big metro like Denver, Colorado to live, having lived in Fort Collins my entire adult life? Possibly. But let's look at 8 major differences between Fort Collins and Denver. What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Soukup, and this is the Living in Fort Collins YouTube channel, where you come to learn everything there is to know about Fort Collins and Northern Colorado. And if you're considering relocating to the area, my team and I are licensed real estate agents in the state of Colorado, so give us a call, text, or email, and we would love to be an asset on your team. But let's jump right in to the 8 major differences between Fort Collins and Denver, Colorado. Let's go. All right, first and foremost, the easiest is obviously population and demographics. Fort Collins is gonna be coming in right around 170,000 people versus Denver's 715,000 people. If you look at the larger metro areas, the Denver metro area is gonna be around 3 million people, and Fort Collins, Northern Colorado, which is Larimer and Weld County, close to 750,000 people. The state of Colorado is expected to grow between 5.5 to over 7 million people in the next 20 or so years, 25 years. And Northern Colorado is expected to go from 750,000 people to exceeding 1 million people. So both areas along the Front Range are expected to see pretty substantial growth moving forward. The median age, now, per the statistics we pulled, suggests that Fort Collins is at 30 years old, Denver around 34 years old. The reality is that Fort Collins actually recently has done some demographic studies and has shown that our median age has actually moved from 29 years old to 39 years old, which is a huge shift for Fort Collins, as we've always been a university town with such a huge population of young kids between 18 and 22-year-olds, but we do have an aging demographic, and those that are choosing to retire to Fort Collins and aging in place in Fort Collins. So we have seen a pretty big pump from a 29-year-old median age to a 39-year-old median age, kind of aligning with Loveland, Colorado. Now, the second thing, cost of living. If you're living in Colorado, it's gonna be a little bit more expensive, unless obviously you're going out kind of to the eastern plains, down south. But otherwise, if you're along the Front Range, you're gonna see a more expensive cost of living in general. Denver coming in at around 127, with 100 being baseline, so around 27% higher than the national average on cost of living. Fort Collins, 115 out of 110, so about a 15% higher cost of living than the national average. A lot of those are going to be weighted on housing. Now, Denver and Fort Collins actually have similar median priced homes, but you're gonna get a little bit more bang for your buck in Fort Collins versus Denver on a price per square foot basis, because, well, hey, if you got a more densely populated area and there's kind of congregations of where people wanna be, you just got more people fighting for those areas, supply, demand, price per square foot, areas. It all just makes more sense that in Fort Collins, you're just gonna get a little bit more bang for your buck on a price per square foot and lot size. Not to talk about parking, access to parks, open space, all that good stuff. But that being said, cost of living, both of them are gonna be expensive. If you look at gas, utilities, groceries, they're gonna be similar. Where you will also spend quite a bit more money in Denver versus Fort Collins is going out for drinks or going out to eat. You'll get a lot more options, but you are gonna pay for those options. Number 3, education and schools. Fort Collins, the backbone of the community, is Colorado State University. Yes, we originated as Fort Collins, a military outpost, but it really wasn't until Colorado A&M set roots down, set up shop along the train line right there, and basically made Fort Collins what it is today. With a population of students around 30 to 35,000 kids, it is a Tier 1 research institution. Denver, on the other side, has Denver University, Metro State University, Colorado University at Denver campus. It's got Regis University, a little bit smaller, and then it also has Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. Now, Fort Collins, if you're not looking for that kind of university to get going, more of a community college to get those core curriculum classes, does have Front Range Community College. So both are gonna have great post-secondary options as far as universities go, but I would say whereas Fort Collins, the backbone is the university, Denver has such a diverse economics, it has the universities supplemental that are absolutely phenomenal universities to explore there as well. Now, on the elementary, middle, and high school, the Denver Public Schools versus Poudre School District, Denver Public Schools is gonna have about 90,000 kids versus Poudre School District, 30,000. Now, each of the schools in the Denver Public School System and Poudre School District, they're gonna range differently on all the rankings. So the reality is my recommendation would be to walk some of the schools. Overall, Poudre School District is going to outperform the Denver public school systems on rankings, student scores, and academics. But that doesn't mean that there aren't great options in the Denver public school system. There are gonna be some great sports programs. The extracurriculars might be there and alternative after school programs because, well, hey, again, more densely populated area, you just got more economics that support having those options available. The Poudre School District is absolutely great. Again, one of the best things that I would recommend is even if that school might not necessarily have the best rankings, the best thing you can do is go tour that school and drive around the surrounding areas, see if you feel comfortable, and then make your decision from there. Now, this is where Fort Collins absolutely gets demolished by Denver. Economic and job opportunities. One of the biggest focuses for Fort Collins is how do we retain the talent that we're nurturing at Colorado State University? Because a lot of these students, when they graduate and have 50, 60, 80, 100 plus $1,000 worth of debt, they need to go make a living in a location that supplies them a wage that's substantial enough to cover the payments for their loan, maybe buy a house, and you won't find as many options in Fort Collins versus Denver. Denver's gonna have Fortune 500 companies. You have the surrounding areas like Littleton, Broomfield. You could find yourself commuting to Boulder, Lafayette, and or the Denver Tech Center. Fort Collins, we've got some great options: Woodward Governor, Broadcom, Agilent Technologies, HP, OtterBox, among others like Colorado State University, which is one of our larger employers, Poudre School District, City of Fort Collins. We've got great job opportunities. We just don't have enough high-paying jobs that will retain the amount of churn we've got with the CSU graduation. So it is a big focus for Fort Collins to build businesses to retain those students and talent that do find themselves moving down to Denver. So Denver, absolutely, you got 715,000 in Denver proper, 3 million people in Denver Metro. You are going to have tons of opportunities, whether that be commuting to Boulder, working at a Twitter, Google type deal, or staying in Denver, working for a ball companies or DIA, which employs 35,000 people. You're just going to have more opportunities, more readily available, paying a wage that is a little bit more sufficient than what you might find in Fort Collins. Number 5, lifestyle and activities. I would say this is kind of a toss-up because, it just depends on what your desire is. Denver's a major metro. So you're gonna have the professional sports teams. You're gonna have the big theaters and plays and comedy clubs that you're not necessarily going to have in Fort Collins. You're also gonna have the late night restaurants, the Michelin star rated restaurants that, again, you're not gonna have in Fort Collins. Now, Fort Collins is absolutely gonna have some semi-pro teams like Northern Colorado Owls for baseball and soccer, the Hail. You're gonna have some smaller comedy clubs like Comedy Fort at Fort Collins. You're gonna have the Lincoln Center for plays that actually bring on some really great acts. You've got Washington's The Armory for concerts. You've got the Red Rocks down in Denver that's really pretty close. But then, of course, you've got Ball Arena and Mile High for these huge acts like Taylor Swift coming through or any huge country music stars coming through Ball Arena. And in Fort Collins, the focus is going to be around that outdoor lifestyle. Microbreweries is going to be a huge thing for us. So you're going to go ride your bike on a paved trail, tube down the Poudre, and go finish the day off with a beer at New Belgium or Odell on their wonderful patio. So I would say the lifestyle and activities is really going to be a little bit different. If you really find yourself wanting to go out on a daily basis, go to Elitch Gardens, go have a great dinner, have late night drinks on a Wednesday or Thursday, Denver's gonna provide you a lot more options and a lot more flexibility to do things on a daily basis that are a little bit different. Fort Collins, on the other hand, it's a little bit more laid back lifestyle. The focus here is kind of, yes, work hard, play hard, family oriented. You're gonna get on the paved trail system, 45 miles with another 75 potentially coming. the microbreweries here, you are gonna have great options downtown Fort Collins, but it's only gonna be on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night because there's just not enough people out on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night. So there's gonna be also an energy difference between the two cities. More laid back, more active, more opportunities, more focused opportunities on lifestyle outdoor activities. And don't get me wrong, Denver is very hard on outdoor activities as well. You've got mountains nearby, not nearly as close as Fort Collins, but you can head up I-70, whether it's 2.5 hours from Fort Collins or 2 hours from Denver to get on the ski hill, hiking, biking, camping, the Pooter Trail, Horsetooth Reservoir in Fort Collins. So a huge focus on outdoor leisure activities in Fort Collins. A little bit more kind of your traditional big metros down in Denver. Now, number 6 is transportation. Denver, big metro, lots of people. It does have a lot of great opportunities for transportation. RTD, the light rail. You've got Union Station, which is actually a passenger train that'll connect you a lot of different places. Mustang will get you to Denver from Union Station. You can take Union Station, the light rail to DIA. You do have Uber, Lyft, e-scooters, e-bikes. You do have the public, the paved trail system. So you're going to have a lot more public transportation in and within and around Denver than you will in Fort Collins. Fort Collins, on the other hand, we've got the Transport, the Max bus system. It's okay. I did a video on it. It's actually a lot better than what I thought it was. And the transit master plan for Fort Collins is pretty impressive. So hopefully we can get that done. Essentially, both Denver and Fort Collins, it is a public utility, the public transportation that's essentially subsidized by city sales tax because it's important for both Denver and Fort Collins greenhouse gas emissions and things of that nature, that they're really focusing on getting cars off the road. And we'll talk about traffic here in a little bit, and using a more public-oriented transportation system, light rail. There's a conversation for the Front Range rail system to go between Fort Collins and Colorado Springs, with stops in Longmont, Boulder, Denver, and Colorado Springs. So there are some cool things in the works, both public transportation, but obviously you're just gonna have better public transportation in a big metro than you will in a smaller metropolitan area like Fort Collins. So one of the things I did here on number 7 on major differences is I looked up the most dangerous cities, and there is a list. And fortunately, neither Denver or Fort Collins comes in on that list. And I can say anecdotally that I have been living in Fort Collins my entire life. My dad to this day doesn't necessarily lock his front door. So I would say now, and he's actually changed that a little bit to where he's locking his door about 80% of the time. So I actually do have to bring my key over to his house. But my wife, she gets on me. She says, lock the doors, close the blinds. And it's great. I would say it's a huge safety precaution for our family. Down in Denver, it's a conversation of where you're at, knowing your surroundings, neighborhood by neighborhood, because I've got a lot of friends down there, and yes, there is absolutely going to be areas that you want to avoid. Homelessness encampments is a thing, and you're going to potentially be walking by these while you're going to get coffee if you're kind of down in downtown. Now, there's going to be neighborhoods that you'll never see that, and if you're away from it, you'll never even realize it's going on. Denver comes with a violent crime ranking of about 10 violent crimes per 1,000 residents, and Fort Collins around 3 per 1,000 residents. Ultimately, you'd like that number to be 0. We had a great podcast with Chief Swoboda for the Fort Collins Police Department, and actually our crime numbers are ticking down. Big concerns in either area are going to be fentanyl use, and that's really across the United States. Hopefully, we can get that under control. Mental health behaviors, homelessness, transients, Fort Collins, just because it's a smaller area. Colorado in general, I would say one of the benefits we have for transients specifically is we do have 4 months of cold, potentially snowy months, and they'd much rather be in an area like Arizona or California or Florida where, yes, it's just gonna be warmer year round and they don't have to kind of brave the cold. So I would say safety and crime, Fort Collins is obviously gonna, pretty much not dominate Denver by any means, but I would say it's a very safe area in general. People feel very comfortable walking around on a daily basis, really wherever. But I would say, don't put yourself in a precarious situation. up until about 10, 10:30, maybe even 11 o'clock at night, you can walk downtown. It's very well lit. I wouldn't necessarily walk around back alleys after 10 o'clock at night unnecessarily, especially with young kids. But if you're gonna be out till 12, 1, 2 a.m., I don't think that's necessarily when the best things happen in the day. So regardless if you're in Denver or Fort Collins, make sure if you're doing that, just being safe. And overall, Fort Collins feels very comfortable, very safe, and Denver is gonna be a location by location determination. And that's one of those things that you're just gonna have to explore a little bit on yourself, on your own, if you feel like Denver's calling your name. And number 8, again, I would say this is where Fort Collins does decimate Denver on a difference. Traffic. Overall, Fort Collins, if you're a local, as I've talked about in previous videos, you're going to feel like the Fort Collins infrastructure is not there. We can't supply the roads, and the traffic is insane to allow for 180,000, 250,000 projected population growth by 2050. It's just not ready. And then you talk to somebody who's come from a Houston, LA, a Denver, or maybe just a little bit bigger metro or area that does actually have traffic, and they say, there's no such thing as traffic in Fort Collins. It just doesn't exist. So perspective is very important for traffic. And I would have to say the same thing for Denver. My perspective is I absolutely hate going down I-25 or anywhere through Denver on any type of busy day or work hour commute time. You're gonna be bumper to bumper. You can take the toll roads, but if you're gonna live on the north side of Denver and work in the downtown Denver Tech Center, good luck to you. Same thing from if you're commuting from Boulder to Denver or Denver to Boulder. There's just gonna be hundreds of thousands of people on the roads during those busy times. And don't get me even started when there's a concert like Taylor Swift, or the Denver Broncos are playing on Sunday, or the Colorado Rockies are playing on Saturday, or the Denver Nuggets are in the playoffs. It will get terrible. Traffic is absolutely going to be a challenge in Denver versus Fort Collins. But if you're from and born and raised in Fort Collins and been here a long time, traffic's quite a bit more than what it used to be. I lived in Midtown and it was 15 minutes everywhere. Now, you could absolutely be driving from the south side of Fort Collins to downtown Fort Collins, and it might take you 20 minutes if it's on a Friday afternoon, whereas it might take you 12 minutes on a Monday at 10 o'clock when there's no traffic. So it's not that there's no traffic in Fort Collins, it just doesn't equate to too huge of a weight. So those are the 8 major differences between Denver, Colorado, and Fort Collins. I think that both have kind of things that they stand on and things that they enjoy. Fortunately, each one's about 60 minutes away from each other. So if you find yourself really focusing on kind of a more laid back lifestyle, not wanting to necessarily deal with traffic, maybe a little bit more safe area, smaller Pooter school district than you do have the Denver Public Schools, Fort Collins is absolutely something to consider. But if you really think you're gonna be going out on a daily basis, you wanna go get drinks on a Tuesday night, Wednesday night after 9 o'clock, and you're gonna get season tickets to the Colorado Rockies, Denver could be calling your name. It's just a matter of what you believe your day-to-day lifestyle and what your priorities are when you look at those 8 major differences. Myself, I could see us using our 3 lanes of I-25 down to Denver a little bit more. And we go to places like Meow Wolf, Red Rocks, Ball Arena, Mile High. We go to DIA. It's not too bad with E470. So I don't necessarily see myself missing anything living in Fort Collins versus Denver because it is an amenity that I have. It's only 60 minutes away depending on where I'm going. And again, to each their own. Now, if you've liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, maybe even comment, ask me a question about a difference in Fort Collins as far as traffic now versus when I was growing up. Something else, that'd be great. Now, a lot of you that are watching this video, we have a ton of people who aren't subscribed who are watching it. Do me a favor, subscribe if you want to click the bell because it's important to you and you're considering relocating to Fort Collins or Denver. We could refer you to somebody down in Denver. We don't necessarily work too much down in Denver, but we do a little bit here and there. But that would be great. We would appreciate the subscription. It just tells us that, hey, people are watching and it means a lot to us. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.